Abusia Sammy Gyamfi adi nkomo yes na nkomo wadi ni no pese yeko na yetie yes lawyer Sammy Gyamfi CEO of a Gold Board no chene semu na extortionist ya oyisu edima aye Alexander AfenyoMarkins ente no ase ombo modern ase obeba abeyi no ho ano yes anase odene bekwa kogina eye emrani na abusia we de ma mekasa wa me ma mekasa enye tete pese ya yeko na yetie nkomo lawyer Sammy Gyamfi wadi Ausia or say Alexander AfenyoMarkins epa on siu no my intebasese also I be media editor be so say any daily channel so subscribe any amai in fact extortionist way did here enye asema did agro ya asema did agro in some ewe chiri and some so boboba me intebasese
AfenyoMarkins that you don't know and those watching don't know. I have appeared on news far many times. Perhaps in this country, I have held more press conferences on political issues than anybody. Have you ever heard me use the word extortion against any of my critics? Have you ever heard me? Why will I use this word now? And why have you not heard Afenyo say anything about that? Or challenge me? Or threaten to sue? So the MPP people talking, there are things you don't know. I will not just, I'm a consummate Democrat. I eat and drink debate. I'm not worried.
Call the minority leader an extortionist.
I'm not worried if you criticize me.
To...
Yes. And that is why he cannot comment on that or even challenge me. He cannot. Because he knows that what I said is true. So there are many things that you may not have the benefit of. But let me talk about my good brother.
AfenyoMarkins is a self-made man.
No problem.
He's got the chain of businesses.
Maybe tell him that.
Why does he need to come and extort money from Gold Board?
Tell him that you want to be his lawyer so that he sues Sammy Gyamfi to substantiate that claim. Tell him. Or tell him that you give him an interview here and Sammy Gyamfi will come and that you should dare Sammy Gyamfi. That is not an insult. I'm speaking about what has happened and he knows.
Abusia memo kwa eroba the update so na page me dey na subscribe to my YouTube channel. One about AfenyoMarkins latest update and breaking news or the brain share. O chairman extortionist alleged extortionist she say you are Sammy Gyamfi no over sha extortionist comment o chairman you say no or the onamo Sammy Gyamfi abeko court over extortionist claim no or try legal action we state TVB said derogatory comment and defamatory na enra anajono no releasing full statement about the page Facebook page into oko Facebook page on sabeka into TV3 ekotwa the legal threatening aspect no ebe posting the first word no latest one ban say extortionist claim no or say obedemra edemra kwaso any Sammy Gyamfi be deal but Sammy Gyamfi more details of say good boss emeki any loss be yenkwe wabra news far odisankom.
So I've had the opportunity to intervene and your lawyers have spoken to you and you have stayed back.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So, but you see something, somebody will ask, why is Sammy Gyamfi and the Gold Board speaking now? Why hold a press conference, and respond to this issue in the manner you have done? See, the reason is this. There is a difference between constructive criticism by opponents or critical voices and a deliberate, malicious disinformation campaign. A deliberate smear campaign, not grounded on facts or issues, but intended to denigrate personalities and institutions and demonize them in the eyes of right-thinking members of society. And that is why we've had to respond to this matter the way we have done. And I'm so happy that your producers have, right from the outset, placed the issue in the right perspective by playing an excerpt of statements that were made by Honorable Alexander AfenyoMarkins on KSM show. In that clip, you hear him make a categorical statement that the IMF has come out with a report And in that report, the IMF says gold board aboka $1.7 billion.
And government has accepted it.
And government has accepted it. Something that he ought to know is false. And I'm so happy that multimedia, particularly your research team, have decided not to be neutral in this contest between truth and lie. Because most often than not, the media decides to be neutral and allow politicians to debate endlessly issues that are easily verifiable. And that is why I was so happy when you came out with that first fact check on Abransare on that $214 million loss that she claimed had been put out by the BOG and later contradicted by a figure put out by the IMF. And that is why I was so happy when you also came out with your own verdict, fact check verdict, that it claimed by AfenyoMarkins that the IMF has said that the gold board has made a loss of $1.7 billion is false and misleading. Because this right here is the relevant portion of the IMF's sixth and final review of Ghana's extended credit facility, which they published a few weeks ago. And if you check page 27, paragraph 50, this is what the IMF said about the domestic gold purchase program. It says the domestic gold purchase program weighed on the financial sustainability of the BOG. The DGPP on which the BOG relied to accumulate reserves and to intermediate effects to the private sector has generated losses of 22 billion, 1.5% of GDP in 2025. A government cost-sharing agreement at end 2025 involving the transfer of bonds with a par value of 5 billion cedis in March 2026 resulted in the breach of the ceiling on the BOG claims on the central government. And in July 2026, the BOG, Gold Board, and the government signed a memorandum of understanding formalizing the transfer of the domestic gold purchase program activities from the BOG to the Gold Board. And it goes on and on. Nowhere do they say in this report that the Gold Board has incurred a loss of $1.7 billion.
And if you look at significance.
Yeah, that is actually a different report. That one is a special report they did on selected issues.
That's right.
And if you look at page 10, paragraph 13,
we are projecting that for all of you to follow as well.
What they said is DGPP operations have generated significant losses for the BOG. Losses in 2024 when there was no Gold Board and Sammy Gyamfi was sitting there somewhere in opposition. Losses in 2024 were equivalent to almost $400 million, 0.5% of GDP. 1/3 of which were related to gold for oil, that is G4O. In 2025, the significant scaling up of the domestic gold purchase operations led to losses of over $1.7 billion, almost entirely related to the gold for reserves Dory purchases. This amounted to a loss of 17% of the value of gold sold, by the BOG, and I'll come to that operative word, sold. And later on, I'll read other portions of it. So you will see clearly that they say that this is a loss under domestic gold purchase program incurred by the Bank of Ghana and not the Gold Board. Now, something to appreciate the dishonesty, okay, of the proponents of this false narrative, particularly AfenyoMarkins. You need to go back to what their earlier position on this matter was. In fact, in the last 3 months, the Gold Board has been a victim of this disinformation campaign right from the hallowed grounds of Parliament. Because anytime AfenyoMarkins has stood to speak on any matter, whether or not it has to do with the Gold Board, he always finds a way of bringing in the Gold Board and stating that Gold Board has made losses. And it was for that reason that at that press conference, to put this matter to rest, we adduced our annual report and financial statements for the year ended 31st December 2025, prepared and published by the Auditor General of Ghana. And this is your copy, I will leave it with you. And Samson, when you check page 16 of that report, you will see that the gold board did not make a loss in 2025.
I've read that.
But the gold board made a surplus or profit, to the understanding of the ordinary Ghanaian, of 5.4 billion cedis. The gold board, from its own operations, generated non-tax revenue of 970.7 million cedis, from 307.7 million in 2024. And despite tripling revenue from 307 million to 970 million, we rather reduce our expenditure from 129.6 million to 109.5 million. And this is despite the fact that the gold board had more than twice the staff strength of the PMMC. We still kept expenditure lower because of fiscal prudence. And in this entire audit done by the Auditor General, not a single adverse audit finding was made against us. No breach of the Public Procurement Law or Public Financial Management Act or any law. And yet you have somebody, a minority leader, who is a lawyer and ought to know better, consistently say, the ECOS will gold board me anymore. Gold board is a scandal in waiting. Procurement breaches. When we brought out the findings of the Auditor General, he spoke to City News and said, oh, the Auditor General was not told the whole truth. Gold board did not give the Auditor General a full picture of his finances. So Samson, today I will show you what the Auditor General said on page 10 of this report. These are the words of the Auditor General. The Auditor General says this: we have audited the financial statements of the Ghana Gold Board, which comprise the statement of financial position as at 31st December 2025, statement of financial performance, statement of changes in equity, and statement of cash flows for the year then ended, including summary of significant accounting policies and other explanatory notes to the financial statements set out on pages 21 to 41. In our opinion, these financial statements give a true and fair view of the financial position of the Ghana Gold Board as at 31st December 2025, and of its statement of financial performance, statement of changes in equity, and cash flows for the year then ended in accordance with the International Public Sector Accounting Standards, IFSAS, and the Public Financial Management Act 2016, Act 921, and in a manner required by the Ghana Gold Board Act 2025, Act 1140. This is the opinion of the Auditor General. So they came out and said, Gold Board has made losses. The Auditor General says nothing of that nature has happened, and Gold Board has so far demonstrated frugality, fiscal prudence. You see everything here. Then they change that line of attack and they say, oh, the IMF has said the Gold Board has made a loss. And as I've read to you from the two publications of the IMF, and if you don't believe me, at least believe Joy News Research Desk, they have confirmed that the IMF has never said that the Gold Board has made a loss. Now, when we talk about the revenue we made in 2025, for which reason we perform so well financially.
A lot of people, if you don't mind, first of all, what's the source of your operating revenue?
Good. Thank you so much. So, Gold Board, like any other SOE, is allowed to raise funds in accordance with law. And if you look at the Ghana Gold Board Act Section 18, the funds of the Gold Board may come from funds allocated to it in the budget approved by Parliament, or funds raised by the Gold Board from the financial markets, or funds raised by the Gold Board through borrowing, or funds accruing to the Gold Board from its fees and charges. And if you look at what constitutes fees of the Gold Board, number one, our license fees. When you apply for an aggregator license, you pay an application fee of 100,000 cedis to the Gold Board. And when we approve your application, you pay a license fee of the cedi equivalent of $500,000 to the Gold Board. When you apply for our self-financing aggregator license, we charge you cedi equivalent of $1,000. And when we approve it, you pay a license fee of 10,000 cedis. When you apply for our Tier 2 gold buying license, you pay 2,000 cedis. And when we approve it, you pay a license fee of 20,000 cedis. When you apply for our Tier 1 license fee, you pay a fee for the application of 1,000 cedis. And when your application is approved, you pay a license fee of 10,000 cedis. Then the large-scale mining companies, before they will export gold, must bring that gold to us to assay. And because assay costs money, equipment, workers that must be paid, consumables.
You've got a great idea.
Replaced. Large-scale mining companies will have to pay an assay fee of $90 per every sample we assay. And sometimes for one consignment, they are a lot, because from every bar, you must bring a sample.
Okay.
And we charge $90.
Right.
And when the large-scale mining companies are smelting their gold board officers, we call them field inspectors, go to their gold rooms to observe the smelting, to make sure that they are not under declaring purity, quantities, and all that, and cheating the state. And when we visit, we charge them $840 per visit. These are all in the fees and charges approved by Parliament.
Right.
Now, if you buy ASM gold, artisanal small-scale mining gold, and you are exporting it, whether you are Bank of Ghana, or you are MIF, or you are a self-financing aggregator, or you are a private exporter, whether Ghanaian or foreigner, you must pay an assay fee approved by Parliament of 0.258%. We issue licenses to refineries, and the refineries pay $10,000 as application fee and license fee of cedi equivalent of $50,000. We issue licenses to jewelers and fabricators, and they pay an application fee, category A, 1,000 cedis, category B, 5,000, category C, cedi equivalent of $10,000. The license fee for category C is cedi equivalent of $30,000, category B, $20,000, category A, $10,000. So all these fees put together is what gave us our non-tax revenue of $970 million. Admittedly, because the Bank of Ghana was the sole buyer through its aggregators like PMMC and Red Sapphire, and the ASM gold is bigger in size, if I can put it that way, than the large-scale gold. A lot of our revenue came from the ASM side. But that was the case in 2024 before Gold Board, even under the PMMC. That was the case in 2023 when it was private people who were buying the gold. So this is where we got our revenue from. We are not sitting at Gold Board just milking like a parasite another institution. Every fee we charge is approved by Parliament for legitimate services rendered, which services cost us money. And all persons who access those services pay those fees. It's just like going to the Registrar General Department to incorporate a company. You will pay a fee to the Registrar General Department.
That's right.
If you go to DVLA to renew your license, you will pay a fee.
Right.
It is, those institutions are not milking you or causing losses to the state.
And these licenses you issue, at this time, we're talking about how many of them?
Over 1,000.
Over 1,000
Over
of them.
1,000.
Okay.
And when Gold Board makes money, that money belongs to the state. So how can Gold Board make legitimate money from the discharge of its statutory duties, which funds are part of the funds of Ghana, and somebody will say that those funds have caused a loss to Ghana? Because Gold Board's money is Ghana's money, and the Minister of Finance can move that money just by giving the controller. That is why we can't open a bank account without approval of the controller. If it's a CD account.
At the
And we
start
can't
of-
open a dollar account without approval of the Minister of Finance. Our money is the money.
At the start of your operations in April 2025,
Yes.
the state had to sort of capitalize you, give you money.
Yes.
Whose money was that?
That is the taxpayers' money. So the state sets up a new agency called Gold Board. When you set up a company in the private sector, the shareholders must capitalize the company. You must give the company equity or debt to capitalize the company. So government says, I set you up to trade gold. I'll give you a one-time revolving seed capital as my equity of 4.5 billion Ghana cedis, which Parliament approved.
That's right.
But that money was not released to us until the 30th of December 2025, when the year had ended.
Okay.
And so it's one of the reasons why we were only able to begin the implementation of our statutory mandate in March of 2026. Now, having explained the issue around Gold Board's own financials and demonstrate to you that no loss has been made, and giving you a sneak peek into what constitutes revenue for us, for you to see that it comes from many, many areas, and it is all approved by Parliament. And having demonstrated to you that the IMF has not said we have made any losses, nor blamed us for any loss. Let me tell you something.
And the Auditor General gave you a clean bill of health.
Clean bill of health.
Okay.
Let me tell you something that this IMF report discloses, and something that it doesn't disclose, which the media has not seen. Number one is that the first sentence of this paragraph 13 of the IMF's report on selected issues discloses something really serious. It says that the domestic gold purchase program operations have generated significant losses for the BOG. Losses in 2024 were equivalent to almost $400 million. What does this reveal? It reveals that the Bank of Ghana, under the NPP and under the leadership of Philip Addison, concealed, covered up domestic gold purchase program losses for 2024 in the audited financials of the Bank of Ghana.
How do you say that?
You recall that in December, when the first IMF report disclosing a loss of $240 million came out, I came to the studio.
Yeah.
And I read to you from my phone losses that domestic gold purchase program had incurred from inception 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024.
That's right.
The MPP rep on the show, Kabiru, also read from the MPP's audited financials and told you that the figures I am quoting are not in the audited accounts. And so I had to give you my phone and told you to confirm whether that message had not been sent to me by the governor. Do you recall that?
That's correct.
You also recall that the governor himself went to the Public Accounts Committee, where the chairperson, Abnasari, asked him to confirm whether losses were made under domestic gold purchase program in 2024. When the governor mentioned that a loss of 5-point-something billion was made in 2024, the lady said it is not true, and that the governor should show her which part of the 2024 audited financial statement of the Bank of Ghana discloses that figure. Because that figure is not there. So they were covering up their domestic gold purchase program losses. And that is why AfenyoMarkins can sit on TV and say, why in the ton gold boka? Forgetting that from 2021 to 2024, they made losses upon losses under domestic gold purchase program. Because the intention was not profit and loss. The policy intention was national economic stability through foreign exchange generation, as I have already explained. You see, so the IMF has actually exposed a cover-up.
Enjoy homemade tea